So, but he's okay though. But he has a pronounced brow ridge.
Yeah.
As you said, a pug nose, more or less a very small orifice for a mouth. And actually, instead of whites, actually had yellow eyes and eyes. I see irises and a pupil.
We put yellow in.
Okay.
To emphasize them.
I was going to say he needs Visine, or he looks like he has malaria, but okay. But
okay, now, Junior has been evaluated by I don't know how many physical anthropologists.
Mm-hmm.
But what he looks like now, if we continue along the path of evolution, this is what we're going to look like in 25,000 years.
And would we be mammalian, reptilian, or insectoid, or a combination of the three? I mean, because if you look at the way we're on our way with the nuclear, there was a nuclear exposure in Japan, for instance, and radiation causes mutation. And if you look along the lines of evolution, we lost our appendix, for instance. People say we'll lose our little toe because we don't need it.
Yeah.
The brain capacity gets larger. We become more spindly because we don't need muscles because it's mind over matter, correct? Is that the...
No.
No, okay.
We're gonna be like we are now, except... I mean, look at mankind has been around for, what, 2.6 million years?
Depends on who you talk to, I guess. So subjective. So
well, they've got the bodies.
so that's basically what the astronaut looked like.
Right.
Can I ask you something? When they put that needle back on board the craft, they put the needle into your navel. Some have speculated that perhaps they were taking eggs or ovae, or no, you don't think so?
No.
Because some have projected that. Isn't it interesting if you correlate that with test tube babies years on?
Yeah. Well, of course, at the time this happened, doctors said, it's absolutely impossible to put a needle in someone's navel. It would probably kill them, but they get infections. And then I think the process was developed in a hospital down in Houston, Texas.
Shortly afterwards.
Yeah.
Did they perform any function like that with Barney then?
Nope.
None whatsoever.
No.
See, another myth
absolutely
dispelled.
Nothing sexual.
See, and that's another myth dispelled, because there was always that overtone in some of the accounts of your story. So it's good to get that clarified. And
absolutely no sexual. In fact, we're having these different methods of producing children. Maybe we won't have any sex in 25,000 years.
Yeah, or maybe of us, well, I won't go there, but it's even tough in 1999, let me tell you. I want to ask you about, after this incident, you are catapulted into the limelight. Not only are people relaying similar experiences, you start hearing from people who have similar experiences, and you're probably saying these people are imagining it on one hand, others are very legitimate. Did you start hearing?
First of all, as soon as our experience became known, we became a central point for people to report sightings. And then after the movie, the UFO Incident, then we had people, because the movie was in 75 and that was after Barney's death, they were calling me saying, oh, I think I've been abducted. And so then, as a social worker, and I use Dr. Simon's formula, when people tell weird tales, it can be hallucinations, delusions, fantasies, or something, they're recalling something they've seen, heard, or read. Mm-hmm. And when you rule out all those, you may have the truth.
Mm-hmm. And they can't use the using something you had read. People tried to equate that you had taken from the Villas Boas case. Villas Boas, for people listening at home, was a Latin man who was abducted, or claimed to be abducted, by a spaceship and was, I guess, sexually accosted by a female alien on board a spaceship. And skeptics like Phil Klass, if you want to go after Phil right now, you can.
It isn't that important. I always tell Phil he only talks that way to try to make money on my reputation.
Let's go there for the skeptic. I'm known as a paraskeptic. If you believe, I probably don't. If you don't believe, I probably do. I amalgamate my theories from both schools of thought. You're both right, you're both wrong. There are some on the far end of this alien culture that have these impossible stories that I cannot comprehend. And then there are the absurd, closed-minded skeptics who will denounce anything without even giving the possibility that this instance could be real. I think that if I come upon something that's unexplained, my job's complete. I'm looking for hoaxes and I'm looking for misidentifications. Let someone else figure it out.
Now let me say this, as far as abductions, there are real, honest-to-God abductions, but they're not known to the public. I know probably about 12, and most of them involve 2 or 3 people. And 50% of those people who have been abducted are in the emergency room at the hospital within 4 to 6 hours.
Because they're convulsing, or?
No. They have breathing difficulties. They lose their sense of balance. Their eyes won't focus. They have different. 2 men in Maine had I think it was brown and yellow marks around their necks, around their eyes, different parts of their body.
Was this the Allagash incident, Ray Fowler?
No,
okay.
no.
So they're traumatized. So what you're saying is abduction, the ones that aren't readily known to the public, they're very almost
They're real.
violent occurrences because the physical traces left over, the physical repercussions.
I mean, there's something more than just saying, "Oh, I think I've been abducted."
You
I mean,
don't.
they've called the police and said, "Take me to the hospital."
You don't consider yourself an abductee, but a passenger, and I think that's refreshing. A tour. You don't. Do you consider yourself an abductee?
No.
Even though popular literature points to yourself and Barney as the first abductees,
Yeah.
because you were the first to.
I call it. We had a meeting.
Mm-hmm. So after
I mean, like Columbus came here and the Indians met with Columbus.
a cosmic caucus. So the movie comes on. You're a clearinghouse for information. A lot of people are coming to you, some with stories that you can't believe, others that you see that they're truly traumatized and victimized. They ask, what can you do to help me? You probably answer, I can't do anything, except you can only take consolation in others who have shared your same experience. Was that your advice? That's my advice to abductees.
Well, if anybody comes to me and says, "I think I've been abducted," the first thing I say is, stay away from UFO investigators. Do not have hypnosis.
I'm going to get a T-shirt with that on it.
And then, if you've really been abducted, you'll begin to remember it yourself. You don't need anybody to tell you. And you will begin, and you will gradually remember the whole thing. Such as John Salter, who was teaching at the college in North Dakota. And he got in touch with me and said, "I think my son and I have been abducted." Both of them are college professors.
Mm-hmm.
Only his son was teaching in California, and father's teaching in North Dakota. And the 2 of them would get together, and they're going to Mississippi on this trip when it happened. Well, they come back home, and they're separated, and both of them begin to recall exactly what happened. No hypnosis, no nothing. They remembered the whole thing.
The UFO investigators start calling you, but the government's calling you. The scientists from all branches of, like you said, military intelligence, I'm sure universities, everybody's got a solid scientific inquiry. There's no skepticism at that point because of your sincerity and your consistency of testimony.
Well, for, I don't know, about 5 years, I guess it was, I did college lecture tours, which was a lot of fun.
Sure, meeting the young people, the young minds.
And then, you see, I invited the UFOs to come back, and they did. Not here, but as a few miles from here. And we went out, we had volunteers, we covered the area almost every night for about 15 years.
Okay.
And we had scientists, we had labs with testing equipment, we had the military, we had half the people who lived in town observing, and we got loads and loads of information about UFOs, but we also got hundreds and hundreds of pictures.
Sightings, because over a 15-year period in southern New Hampshire, you orchestrated watch groups.
Right. We had all these volunteers, and when I did the college lecture tours, I used about 85 different slides of UFOs. But not just UFOs, UFOs doing different kinds of things. Like a carrier with 9 discs coming out of it.
Wow.
I mean, I had a $89 movie camera.
And you have a film of a mothership.
Actually, what I did is I sent the movie film to a friend who's a psychiatrist, projected the movie film onto the screen, and then took his camera and snapped slides.